Claret College, Bangalore, started in the year 2005, caters to the educational needs of students doing both undergraduate and postgraduate studies from Bangalore, India and abroad. In a 13 acres campus, St. Claret College has everything that is needed for the educational pursuits of students. College caters not only to the intellectual pursuits of students, but also students doing both undergraduate and post incorporates both curricular and extracurricular aspects in a unique Claretine way of educating students. With its tagline, Nurturing Values and Excellence, St. Claret College ultimately aims at empowering students with values, and as they graduate from the college, they are the best in the field of education. What we aim is holistic education. Every student that passes through the portals of St. Claret College would come out as persons who are intellectually competent, professionally skilled, spiritually vibrant, morally responsible, socially just, and culturally sensitive global citizens, and only then we claim that we have achieved our mission.
St. Claret College thrives on its core values. Claret's hierarchy of core values are faith in God, justice, truthfulness, personal integrity, respectful relationality, service, synergic cooperation, and intellectual competence. These true, authentic, and universal values govern every Claretine's behavioral, attitudinal, intellectual expressions and regulate the holistic Claretine education. Values are guiding principles to understand the difference between right and wrong. These values define Claretine brand and unite not only Claretines but every human being all over the world.
A very pleasant morning, everyone. My name is Akhil P. Naya, currently pursuing my third year BCA degree at St. Claret College. I would like to welcome you all to the session on Awareness of Design Thinking Toolkit and its importance in scalable innovation. So before we get started, I would like to say that if you enjoy this session and find it informative, please do leave your valuable thoughts in the comment section below. And also, we will be providing the feedback link in the comment section, which will be open after 11 a.m. So please do submit your feedbacks there. So without further ado, let's welcome our resource person for the day, Ms. Prajakta Kulkarni. Prajakta Kulkarni is the founder and chief design officer of an education technology startup called Notes. She has delivered public talks on human-centered design, user experience design, and design thinking at various forms, including Head Start, IEEE, and the Goa project. She has vast experience in working with the design process and its tools through various companies like Google, InkTalks, Teach for India, D Labs at the Indian School of Business, Nemesis Labs, and other such multinational companies. In the last few years, she has extensively worked on education development by incorporating design thinking in learning models as well as creating impactful credited design courses in various engineering and management colleges all over India. She also has been an adjunct faculty at the IIM Bangalore for teaching a self-designed course named Extended Design Thinking to the executive management and public policy management students. Prajakta is dedicated to working for teachers and building enjoyable teaching workflows through the Notes learning platform.
Hello everyone, I'm Prajakta Kulkarni and I'm here to talk about the Design Thinking Toolkit and its importance in creating meaningful innovations. Let me start by giving you a little bit of introduction about design thinking, and then we will get on to what are the steps to use for creating an innovation of that level. Then I will give you a few examples and case studies of how companies or how big brands or even startups have used design thinking to create a substantial impact. I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see my presentation. Okay, so let me start by walking you through Node's extended design thinking. Now, what is one of the most famous inventions of man? And by the picture, you might have already some idea of what I'm talking about. But what I'll do is I'll still kind of give you a little bit of a nudge. So let us look at this, okay? What do you think is one of the most famous inventions of mankind? And I'm pretty sure that it's running through your minds already. The wheel. Yes, that's what we are talking about. And what is the wheel? What was the wheel originally invented for? Not as a transportation, not by Egyptians to transport the big bricks. The wheel was not really invented, or even the windmill, which are some of the common answers we get. It was actually invented as a potter's wheel. Now, let me take this time to get you to understand the innovation of a potter's wheel through a design thinking lens. What are the parts? What are the important parts of an innovation? Viability, desirability, and feasibility. Okay, viability is the ability for it to work, to function, to be able to solve that particular problem. Feasibility is its ability to be made in the least amount of resources, whatever is available around, or let's say whatever is available at the cheapest cost. This involves a lot of thinking around related to resources. And the third or the most important factor that all of us usually forget about is desirability, which is the ability of that particular innovation to create its own demand. A potter's wheel, if you look at it, is viable, which means that it kind of makes sure that there is enough, it kind of makes sure that enough number of pots are generated or created in a symmetrical form or in a repetitive format, in which every pot, it's basically a manufacturing device for pots, right? Every pot that comes out of it is pretty much the same, carries equal amount of water. The circular shape makes it easy to, as in desirable to look at also, and it solves multiple problems related to water storage. So I guess viability is something that we can take care of. Another factor, the second factor that we think that is most important is this desirability. Now, not one person or two people actually came to the potter and said that, um, I need something to carry water. Somebody else came and said, oh, I need to store water. The well is too far. Somebody came and said that, oh, I need a nice little vase to put flowers in. And all of these things have come together, which created a demand for an object that can carry water, store water, keep water for a long time, and keep it away from things like ants and dust or wind and water, all of these things. So what the potter thought is, what I have, so that brings me to the next part of it, is when the potter thought is what I have, it's a little bit of mud, a lot of stone, and water. So how do I make something out of this? And so he basically created this wheel on which can move around, and using a lot of physics and dynamics, it kind of forces the mud into shape, and it creates every pot that looks exactly the same, the least amount of money that the potter has to spend. This, I think by now you understand what a good innovation is. So let me just revise what I meant by viability, desirability, and feasibility. Viability is the ability to work and survive. Desirability is the ability to generate demand. And feasibility is the ability for it to be conveniently done. Okay? So always remember that a good innovation has viability, feasibility, and desirability all intact, all at the same level. Let me show you a small video.
Do you want to learn to draw professional and impressive?
Let me show you a small video that talks about what kind of behavioral insights go into building products or looking at products, which can actually change how our current situations are.
Impressive artwork from scratch that will blow people's minds?
I have to show you the...
I'm Scott Harris, professional illustrator, painter, and artist. My character drawing course on Udemy has helped thousands of students gain the art skills they need to draw well.
There's this door on the 10th.
I hope you can hear this. I'm just going to minimize my video till then so that you can see the entire video.
Floor of the Vox Media office that I hate so much.
God damn it. You ever get this door wrong?
Pretty regularly.
Have you seen people misuse it?
All the time, every day. Constantly. I hate this door.
Me too, Kelsey. But here's the thing. As soon as you start looking for confusing doors, they are everywhere.
It's push.
Why?
I feel like Roman Mars would know about this.
This is 99% invisible. And those doors you hate are called Norman doors.
What's a Norman door?
Don Norman wrote the essential book about design. He is the Norman of the Norman door.
All right, and where is this guy?
You must go to San Diego.
Okay.
Hi, Joe. Hey, I'm Don Norman. Gee, you know, it's hard to describe what I am.
Well, he's been a professor of psychology, professor of cognitive science, professor of computer science, a vice president of advanced technology at Apple. But for our purposes.
I was spending a year in England, and I got so frustrated with my inability to use the light switches and the water taps and the doors even, that I wrote this book. If I continually get a door wrong, is it my fault? No. In fact, if you continually get it wrong, it's a good, and if other people continually get it wrong, good sign that it's a really bad door.
A Norman door is one where the design tells you to do the opposite of what you're actually supposed to do, or gives the wrong signal and needs a sign to correct it.
Why does it need an instruction manual? That is, why do you have to have a sign that says push or pull? Why not make it obvious?
It can be obvious if it's designed right.
There are a couple really simple, basic principles of design, and one of them I'll call discoverability. When I look at something, I should be able to discover what operations I can do.
The principle applies to a whole lot more than doors.
And it's amazing with many of our computer systems today. You look at it, there's no way of knowing what's possible. Should I tap it once, or twice, or even triple tap? So discoverability, when it's not there, well, you don't know how to use something.
Another is feedback.
And so many times there's no feedback. You have no idea what happened or why it happened.
And these principles form the basis of how designers and engineers work today, commonly known as user or human-centered design.
I decided at one point the word user was a bit degrading. Why not call people people? And it's amazingly simple and amazingly seldom practiced. We call it iterative because it goes around in a circle. We go out and we observe what is happening today. We observe people doing the task. And from that, we say, oh, we have some ideas. Here's what we should perhaps propose to do.
Then you prototype your solution and test it.
Quite often, these are wrong at first. But each time we go around the circle, we do a better job of making the device until the point we're actually making something that really works.
And this process has spread all over the world.
And it turns out it's improving lives.
From better everyday things like the ones that Don wrote about,
to using the same process to solve huge problems in public health in developing countries.
Water,
sanitation,
farming,
lots more. So what'd be a better human-centered door?
An ideal door is one that as I walk up to it and walk through it, I'm not even aware that I had opened the door and shut it. So if you had a door which had a flat plate, what could you do? Nothing. The only thing you can do is push. So see, you wouldn't need a sign. A flat plate, you push.
This kind of push bar with the piece sticking out on one side works well too. So you can see what side you're supposed to push on.
Vertical bars could go either way. A simple little hand thing, though, sort of indicates pull.
But we still have terrible, terrible doors in the world. So many of them.
There are lots of things in life that are fairly standardized, and therefore, whether I buy this house or not is not a function of whether it has good doors in it. And so, except for safety reasons, doors tend not to be improved.
But the tyranny of bad doors must end.
I think that it's a really shitty design. In fact, they put a pull handle when it's a push. And it should be a flat panel right here. And not a pull handle. That's how I feel about this. It's very misleading. I agree.
You're right, Becky. You're goddamn right. And if we all thought like you, well, we might just design a better world together.
It won't open because it's the security door. What the f*** are you two doing?
Hey, so as you can see, since I started making this video, they've since changed the door a little bit. I guess it's a step in the right direction. Thank you so much for watching, and to 99% Invisible, one of my favorite podcasts. It was so much fun to collaborate with them. Thank you, and check them out.
So now that we have come to this understanding of how things are designed, let me also give you a small exercise to work on. This exercise will kind of help you put all that inspiration from the video that we just watched into making something, okay? The name of this activity is Design the Most Ideal Wallet. Here's how we are going to do it. It's going to be a 15 minutes activity. It's going to be a 10 minutes activity. And they're going to be 2 minutes of small activities spread into it, okay? So what I'm going to do is, I will start the activity. I'll give you 2 minutes to do each of the parts of it. Got it? So let us start from designing the most ideal wallet, and for this I can give you 2 to 3 minutes. What we can do is I'll share another screen with you, which I've put up another screen which has a timer on it. Okay, so Let us start by designing the most ideal wallet. And here is how I'm going to give you a timer. And your time starts now. To design the most ideal wallet, use a pen and a paper, or even if you want to make craft in this little bit of time, make sure that you draw it to details, or you put down all the inspiration you have about the human-centered design, about viability, feasibility, desirability into this, and try to build what you think should be the most ideal wallet. For this activity, I suggest that you should find find all the reasons in your mind where you thought that, oh, this wallet doesn't work for me. Okay, so you have 2.5 minutes more. I hope you're still drawing it. You can draw multiple number of wallets also. It's up to you. Draw the most ideal wallet. It will be very easy for you to understand what the steps in Design Thinking Toolkit involve if you do this activity with me. Last 1 minute. And that's 30 seconds. And 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Okay. So now, what I want you now, we are going to do the next part of this activity. Here. Yeah. So this is where we are. Let me share. Okay. This is the sorry. Okay. So this is the next part of the activity. So find somebody who's around you, or a person that you can talk to quickly on the phone. Maybe a small chat with a person where you need to ask them about their use of the wallet. Okay, so you basically need to ask them questions like, how do you use it, what are the things in it, where do you take it. Try to empathize with the person of what are their problems related to wallet. So just like how we saw the door problems that he had related to the labeling, similarly you need to find problems related to the wallet for that other person you're talking to. Okay, for this again I'll give you 3 minutes, but try to finish it earlier. Okay, so I'm going to again share the timer with you, and here is how we are going to start. Make sure that you write down everything that these people are, that the person you're talking to is telling you about the wallet especially, so that you have it recorded. And your time starts in 3, 2, 1. Let me show you the other screen to just give you another lookout. We still have 1.5 minutes left. So what we are doing is we are asking somebody about their wallets in maximum number of questions related, in maximum number of questions which can be subjectively asked. Okay, try not to ask objective questions like what is your name, what is your age. It doesn't make a difference, seriously. Okay, we have around 1 minute more. To ask someone about their wallet. You have less than a minute. Now, once you have asked somebody, what is the next step do you think is going to be in this? Okay, it's very simple. It's not going to be, it's very simple to understand. So here's the next step. You need to design a wallet for that person. Simple as that. So over here it is saying that you have to sketch 5 options, but what I would like you to do is sketch even 1 or 2 options for that person to be able to choose from. You know, variety always works in demand creation. So for that, let us start our timer in 3, 2, and 1. For this, I'm not going to show you a separate screen. I'm just going to keep a tab of how much time we are using on side with my phone. So you have 5 minutes to sketch an option of design a wallet for that person who you spoken to about their wallet. Okay. Try and think of ways to solve their problems through this sketch or design that you're making. make use of colors if you have. Try to make sure that you are that you're putting in a lot of design ideas, innovation in this wallet. Um, a lot of design thinking is actually about problem solving than creating a product from scratch or than experimenting with materials and then coming up with a new formula. Design thinking usually dwells in solving problem for people because we are in the kind of scenario that we are always surrounded by people and everything is always affected by people. So keeping people in the center and then designing a solution for them is very important. You have 2 more minutes to do this. If you have any questions, let me ask you to please put it down in the comments so that whenever I'm online, I can just reply to those comments as an answer. You have 1 more minute left. You can definitely keep doing this even after I finish talking, uh, or even after the session, and continue doing this with lots of other products that are around you. I mean, wallet is just an example because everybody usually has a wallet. You can definitely go with redesigning any product or service that is around you, the windows, the doors, the walkways, apps that you're using regularly. It is a great exercise to work on when you're free and you really want to feel creative about something. 10 seconds. And stop. Okay. So now that you're done, what you can do is now you can compare these two options, the two designs that you made. You made a design. You designed the most ideal wallet. You talked to somebody about it. You sketched a design for that person. And now I'm asking you to compare this sketch that you made right now with the sketch you made previously. If you realize that in the new design that you have made, you've tried to solve a lot of problems. You've made a lot of advancement in terms of the desirability factor, which is what will get you to actually make which will actually get the innovation scalable. Okay. Let us move on to the next part of this, which is the steps we need to take in the human-centered design. As you can see, if you can remember, what we did is that we heard from what the other person was saying. We created something, and then we are supposed to deliver it. So this is a very basic stepwise understanding of how human-centered design can be done. The first and foremost is definitely hear. You need to understand, you need to hear, and you need to get into the depth of understanding of what they mean, what they think, what are their problems, get into the objective questions of it, empathize, understand, define. So this is where you empathize with their issues, their problems, their situations, culture, demography, geography, all those things. You need to empathize with people who are currently facing this problem. The next part of this is understand, is where you empathize, and now you have to understand what the problems have been. Then you get into the definition of the problem, saying that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are the problems that I will tackle using my innovation. So this is the definition part, and this is a very crucial part of designing for human-centered innovations, because most of the times we kind of forget about the main underlying problem, and we start solving the symptomatic problems around it. I'll give you an example later on for this. The next part is, once you've defined the problems, it becomes very easy to start creating solutions, like we did just now with the wallet activity. When you make a prototype, prototype has different stages. Usually human-centered design will involve a lot of emotional fluctuations. Maybe when you ask somebody something, they were facing a different problem than what they're facing right now. So it's definitely useful to prototype. Start with the least expensive thing, the most affordable prototype that you can make, maybe out of waste, even out of drawing it on your phone. Start with a very basic prototype, and then get to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. After you make one prototype, make sure you validate it. Make sure that everything you do is being validated by the people who are going to use it, and is also validated by the people who understand the technology, let's say, who are experts, or who are your team members, basically, who understand the problem at the level you are understanding it. So validation is important. Then comes implementation, because okay, now you know that the product is working, you know that it is solving the problem. Now you need to implement it. Then you need to improve it. So all of this needs to go on and on in a circle. Again, you come back to empathize, you talk to the same people, you find out new problems with your prototype, you understand them, you define these problems, and then you get into the cycle of solving problems. To give you a great example of a human-centered design, or HCD, is this beautiful Embrace incubator. So a lot of people, a very small town in Nepal was facing this problem of unhealthy deliveries, or what do you call it? Unhealthy deliveries, or they're facing a problem of basically the amount of time that is required for a pregnant woman to reach the pregnant woman in labor, and an extensive issues related to the pregnancy, to be transported to the hospital for a very healthy delivery, or medication, or any kind of supplies that the woman is going to need for her baby. The easiest option for the government was to build a road, put a truck, or make sure that there's a railway that connects from that town to the main hospital, and the distance was somewhere around still more than 1.5 to 2 hours. After a lot of ideation and understanding the problem in depth, they realized that the temperature in that village is very low, and which makes the baby and the mother susceptible to a lot of issues and a lot of diseases, viruses and bacteria, which can be caused at the time of birth. So instead of making a transportation service, they actually designed a product in which the baby and the mother can remain safe. They made a small incubation bag, which you can see in the image below, which has all the supplies that a child would need to be incubated for up to 3 days. In 3 days, a mother can be transported to a private hospital, even to a state-run hospital, which will give her the facilities that she's going to require for the healthy delivery. Now, this is a very human-centered solution. It is also scalable. It is viable, desirable, and it is feasible. There is another solution which was designed in a human-centered manner by Godrej, I think. what they did is, okay, so the problem that they were facing is that kids wouldn't like to be tested in a unit, and they felt they were always afraid of it, and they were scared that it's going to suck them inside. So instead of making it simpler for them, closing their eyes, sedating them, and all of these solutions, they came up with a solution of making the place even more techy, even more sci-fi. So the kid feels actually excited to go inside it. So they would in fact also dress up the kids, and they would put them on the bed, and the device would pull them inside. That's how they incorporated human-centered design into this product. Now let us look at what are the steps to be taken in a design thinking process. Now this is how the hearing part has played a role, and we will try to understand what are the steps in a design thinking process. Okay, so the very, very first step, the most important step in a design thinking process is to select the idea, is to select the problem, or to select the area of what would you want to change. What is it that you are looking to change? What are the questions do you have? And what are the issues that you're tragically dealing with? Now, what I tell most of the people are, uh, this is my understanding of what is, or this is my level, this is what I always utilize, is that make sure that you find problems which are nearby, which are in your community, which you can empathize with very easily. If you start by looking at a global problem, you will not be able to relate it easily. Like, for example, choosing a problem like human trafficking is very difficult, because unless you have been a part of it, it's going to be very difficult for you to relate to. Try to look at simpler problems like garbage on the roads or near your house, or let's say try to go to a community or a place and observe what are the problems the people are facing. A lot of times, especially in India, when there's a lot of population, people go through processes by adjusting themselves to the problems that they are facing, the challenges and obstacles. They try to adjust themselves with it. So we need to try to keep a close eye onto how they are adjusting to these uh, issues and challenges. So how do we do that? Okay. Second step, build a team. You need a team. You need a diverse team to uh, be able to bounce ideas off, to be able to use each other's strengths and weaknesses, to grow equally. And you also need a team so that you can have a lot of work done at the same time. So no matter what, at least have a team of 3 to 5 people. More than 5 people is also great. I've worked in teams with 20, 25 people for design thinking, because we can spread each other to different places, and we can start ideating on small parts, each of us. So first is build a team. Make sure that your team is diverse, meaning that don't have like 15 engineers in one team. Have one engineer, one lawyer, a psychologist, a designer, environmentalist, a biologist. Think of NASA, okay? So even the NASA astronauts team is diverse. They have multiple specialities, and they utilize their multiple specialities in those parts, so that everyone learns, everyone grows, and the problem is solved holistically. You definitely need to build a team. Try to think of it as a community in which you need to have all types of people, or a farmland in which you need to plant all types of plants, so that every plant has their own chance to grow. Once you have a team, try to ideate with your team on what the problem is about, or where do you want to start with the problem. So this is your mind mapping time. You can also like sort of jot down each of these memory parts, or each of the problem parts, and try to start with one at a time. it's also good enough to start with the entire problem area at the time. Next step is research. In research, you have to you need to divide the team mainly, and then start by using different methods of research, which will get you to do human-centered, empathetic development of your product, as well as make sure that you have viability, feasibility, desirability. So research is very, very important. And in research, ethnographic research and participatory research are the most important. Usually, I would want to take you through each of these parts, but the most important part is to talk to people, which is the interviewing, where you can have a casual conversation with someone of 90 minutes in which they tell you stories about different things that they have done. Make sure that you get stories. Okay, it's not a survey. It's not it's not something that you can get a one-word answer on, and it's something that the person would definitely want to talk about for at least 20 minutes about. Like instead of asking, so do you like to go out and have ice cream? You can say, what do you like to go out and do? The earlier question will give you just a one-word answer like yes or no. But the next will give you a long list of things plus an experiential understanding of why they like what they like. It's also good to ask indirect questions and not leading questions. Like, for example, don't ask why do you smoke? It's a little provocative and they probably might not answer it right. It's the other way to ask this question is that what are the benefits you find from smoking? It helps the person. You need to help the person in front of you give you an answer and not make them provoked or egoistic about it. Second part is definitely observation. Like I said, go sit in a place and observe the whole area. This will help you to understand the problems that people are facing from a very humanistic point of view. Even if you go to your favorite cafe and sit down for like half an hour and start jotting down the problems you see around, I'm pretty sure you'll come up with 20-25 problems right up in there. And there are a lot of other research methods also that we follow, but this is something that is of a theoretical knowledge. And as in the research methods are something that you can use on and off. You can you can use some of it related on what kind of problem you're trying to solve. So make sure that you select the right research method. You have information from all dimensions possible, from pessimistic point of view and optimistic point of view, from an underground point of view, from a skyline point of view, all of it. Once you have all of this information from the research, the next part you need to do is document your findings, derive insights from these findings, and create a problem statement. I know that these are difficult parts, but this is where you need to put all the information that you have gathered and collected into one place. I don't know if some of you must be watching these detective shows, even CID. They have this investigation board. Okay, so we need, as designers, need to make an investigation board. On this, we need to write down all the findings, all the insights, and we have to understand what all of this information means to us and to the problem. This will help us to create or define the problem statements one after the other. The next is to form this problem statement, and we usually give them a template for a problem statement. This will kind of ensure that you have built a problem statement that arrives to a product or a service or a solution, rather than keeping it vague. The great part of design thinking is that you don't have to think of all of the ideas by yourself. You are the one who's, let's say, gathering information and then putting it down in one place, and then there is a beautiful product coming out of it. So the next part of the toolkit is the public brainstorming. The reason why we call it public is because anyone and everyone should be a part of this, which means that it includes your stakeholders. It includes who is being troubled by the problems. It includes who is going to solve the problems, who's going to pay for it, who is your team members. It includes everybody who is remotely related to the problem you're trying to solve. And you need to get everybody to put in a lot of ideas into this. I would suggest that every person should put in at least 5 ideas, in which there are some wild ideas, there are some on the topic ideas, and make sure that all the ideas are visual, there are more ideas coming in, and you need to make sure that whoever is the group leader remains off judgment, so that more ideas can keep coming in. When you start, judgment is where you need to put, judgment is what you need to put where where you need to select ideas, which is the next step. How do you select ideas for a design thinking innovation? Simple: viable, feasible, desirable. When your idea has all these 3 parts, in which the business is workable, there is money coming in, there's possibility of the functionality happening of the service, when there is a demand creation that can automatically happen from the people side saying that, oh, this solves a very big problem, and there is feasibility, which means that it is technologically possible, it is resourcefully possible, it is, let's say, the amount of people or the things that are required for the people to use it are available, then your idea is great. That is how you select an idea. Once you've selected, of course, you need to go into prototyping, validation, and system mapping. Prototyping and validation is a very constantly running cycle, in which you can start by low-fi prototypes, get into the higher, get into the better. And for example, if you're starting with an app, you can start by showing just images of it to somebody, just sketches of it to somebody, and get it to a level where you have a beta level app, for example. Next part comes into system mapping, which means that what are the elements that cover the feasibility part of it, who's going to work on what. And voila, you have a human-centered design in front of you. So to give you an example is that, how do you, so when the product that you have designed or the solution you have designed does not have desirability, you never know who to sell it to. When the solution you have does not have feasibility, you don't know how many you have to make, and you don't know where it needs to be. So just viability and desirability will not suffice. And the final solution, if you design have just desirability and feasibility, then it'll just be sold as a showpiece and it will not be used. So if you want it to be utilized and it needs to be in demand and it needs to be created, it needs to have all 3 parts of the innovation. Let me give you another way to use Design Thinking Toolkit. Now, this is something that all of us designers use mostly for the design process. A lot of years back, the British magazine, one of the British magazines, designed a beautiful diagram to explain how us designers function. And this is something that has turned into a toolkit over the years. So divide here, create, deliver into 4 parts: discover, define, develop, and deliver. Discover is empathize and understand, like we saw in the earlier thing. Define is the insights, the problems, the ideation part. Develop is the conception part, the prototyping, the testing. And deliver is the validation, implementation, and improvement. Okay. To explain it better, this is the diagram that it has made. It's a double diamond diagram. It is a double diamond with with around 4 V's which are stuck opposite to each other. So to explain this better, I have this diagram. If you can see, there are 2 diverging lines, 2 converging lines, which means that whenever you're doing a design process or design project, or an innovation which needs to have all these factors of human-centered design, you need to do a lot of diverging and converging with the information that you have about the design. Okay, so when you start, there's a diverging, which means that you collect everything that you have, everything that people can give you, and then you converge, which means you define, as you reduce your information, narrow down to the smallest part. Again, you diverge with the smallest part into making lots of ideas, lots of products, lots of prototypes. And again, you convert, saying, okay, one idea, one product. Okay, I can explain this better in the template that we have designed. Okay, so if you can see this, let me try and zoom it in. If you can see this, the entire double diamond is divided into 4 parts. Okay, discover, define, develop, and deliver. Of course, the first part is definitely starts with immersion, questionnaire, interviews, documentation, meetings, user experiences, behaviors. To zoom in a little bit, here is where you can where you start diverging, where you collect a lot of primary and secondary information. Now, primary and secondary information is divided in such a way that primary is always related to the person or the people you are trying to solve the problem for, and secondary is related to the whole exploration or the whole scientific, whole inquiry or anything that is, or the scientific part of it. So this is the person, emotional part of it is primary, and scientific part is the secondary. Usually secondary research requires you to look into books, articles, publications, any information that comes externally and not through you. Then you get into the diverging part of this, is where you find patterns in your findings, is what is the similarities, or these are the similar problems faced, or this is the similar behavior noticed, and you build insights out of this. Now, there's a huge difference between findings and insights. Findings are the information that is collected by you. Insights is what you understand from it. For example, we did a research a long time back about this medicine, which the patients were not had stopped taking after a while. And the reason they were giving is that they forgot or they left it out at some point, and they started missing it in the long run. What we realized is that, okay, we got this information that 100 people forgot to take the medicine, but that cannot be the reason why they didn't take the medicine, right? The reason is that the reason would be something related to their behavioral problems, like maybe they don't want to take medicines. Maybe it's a very difficult decision for them to to decide to take that medicine their entire lives, So we came up with those insights, saying that, it is difficult for the community to remember to take medicine because of so many underlying cultural issues that they are facing. In this, you need to reduce the opportunities. That don't look at problems as problems, start looking at problems as opportunities. Challenges and obstacles as opportunities which you can solve with an innovation. A great entrepreneur is somebody who will actually look at a problem and say, hello, I can make 100 solutions for this problem and sell all of them, right? So try to look at problems as opportunities, even business opportunities. Then you need to formulate the problem statements, which are the right business opportunities or the opportunities of product innovation. And then you need to get on to the ideation part. So this is the second side. This is the next side of the double diamond. In this, you need to start developing. The brainstorming part comes here, where you start putting in as many ideas as you can into how the same problem or the number of problems you've noted down can be solved. One video I can suggest you to watch in relation to this is the Hair Balloon ad of S Oil. I'll try to write it down in the comments later. And the second is the IDEO shopping cart. If you type this in YouTube, you'll find the video. Once you have developed it, then you need to start creating and testing the prototypes that you have developed. you need to start validating those prototypes, and then you need to iterate on it. So this is the part which is going to make this is the part which I'm going to say that you need to make sure that you do it at least twice. Make at least 2 prototypes, try them out, and to get different findings from it, and then make a better prototype. The principle of evolution is everything must change to adapt, right? So you need to make sure that you constantly are adapting to the new problems or to the variety of problems that are built by changing things in your application. Change to adapt. Remember this. And then you find a design solution. At this point, a lot of times, or even in our projects, we have found that the implementation is not really possible, or it is not really going to happen. So here is where we decide to either implement it and see that, okay, maybe let's say it works, or we evolve it into something in which we start from the scratch and we go to understand, again, we try and understand a new side of the same problem. So this is where my double diamond ends. I'll give you an example of a great innovation using the Uber app example. So yes, they wanted a taxi application, but to understand what the people's problems were really or what they were really facing, the founders and the founding team and a lot of their creators actually went to people who hail cabs regularly to understand what their problem was with the hailing of cabs. Now, there are a lot of problems. Like when you stand in the middle of the road and you shout out, shout out taxi, there's not going to be many cars that will stop for you. There's going to be just one car. Or most of the times in India, the auto rickshaws just pass away without even looking. And there are a lot of these kind of level of issues that a cab hailer or a taxi hailer faces. Another issue is that, okay, maybe you have the number of your taxi driver, but when you call him, he'll be like, oh, madam, I'll be there in 5 minutes. But he'll not really be there in 5 minutes. So they wanted to understand what the problems were really. And one of the problems that they identified, which was constantly faced, which was the underlying problem, is not knowing when the taxi driver is actually going to arrive and not knowing when they are going to reach their destination. Now, this is a very humanistic trait that we want to predict everything. And we want to understand, or we want to be able to be on time, punctual, to be set up. So the Uber app people actually use this insight that people want to be punctual, people want to know, and be less restless about their times by knowing when they are going to reach a certain destination. And Google Maps helps us immensely in doing that. But what Uber did is they gave a route map of the driver of when they are going to arrive at the location. This helps reduce a lot of anxiety for the user because they know where the person is, they know when they are going to reach, and there are a lot of issues that can be solved by showing just them on the map. So a very simple implementation to their product reduced the problem to such a level that the demand automatically grew. Got it? Viable, feasible, desirable. Let me give you another example. Nike was facing this problem a lot with athletes, especially that their shoe sole would slip out of their foot, which means that they couldn't reach their destination on time, or they couldn't have their athletic ability to its maximum because the shoe sole kept slipping. Now, a general company, what they will do is that they will know, oh, shoes sole is slipping, put better glue. But what Nike did is, or it does on a regular basis, is that it goes and sits with its athletes on the field at the track and tries to analyze what all is happening with the athletes. In this, what they realized, a lot of athletes came up to them saying, don't remove socks, don't give us socks. It's a lot of process to just sit down, put one sock at a time, then put down the shoe, tie the shoelace, make sure that it is fitting exactly right for my legs to be able to perform better. And so many things that I have to make sure just before I start. It's something that might change after I warm up also. So instead of so what Nike did is they just removed the sole out of the shoe in a weird way. They just removed the sole out of the shoe, and they made the fabric in such a way that the athletes would not require to wear socks at all. And if you can see on this image on the right hand side, uh, in one of the Olympics, actually all the people who came first to 22nd were wearing Nike Flyknit shoes. This was the level of success it had achieved, and this is the level of success that an innovation, a human-centered innovation, can achieve, is to get an athlete to perform better than they actually can. So, with this example, I would like to end my talk. I hope you have enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of questions. I would love to answer those questions individually and together. Uh, I would also like to take this moment to sort of talk about Modes, which is a learning platform on which we help facilitators. We give facilitators guidance to conduct courses directly. So these we help them conduct innovation courses, and the courses which are kind of difficult to teach through our notes platform, which has the one-of-a-kind activity guidance. It has one-of-a-kind activity-based assessment system, and it is extremely easy to use. And we have used a lot of this thorough knowledge of human-centered design into it. If you want to check it out, do log into app.ednotes.com. I can show you how the app looks just to kind of conclude my talk. So, just give me 1 second. It also has a student facing point, because I know you face a lot of problems related to submission deadlines, pre-submission. The teachers facing problems related to getting all the submissions in one place. I'm pretty sure that you have all of these problems, even related to attendance, proxies. So this is how the home screen looks like. We have extended design thinking course from as low as 2 hours. The basics of human-centered is what I talked about right now. And we have a very healthy course of 60 hours in which you can create batches, and the teachers can create batches and deliver this very effortlessly. Deliver so many courses, including storytelling as a business tool, to all of the people in very less preparation and expertise. With this, I'll take your email. Do ask a lot of questions and send me a lot of questions. My email address is prajakta@nodes.co.in. nodes.co.in.
Gratitude is a powerful catalyst for happiness. It's the spark that lights a fire of joy in your soul. A very good morning to all the folks attending this webinar on awareness on Design Thinking Toolkit and its importance to scalable innovation. I, Rose, college captain, would like to thank the Almighty for making this webinar a success. I extend a heartfelt gratitude to our resource person, Ms. Prajakta Kulkarni, founder and Chief Design Officer, Notes, for finding time out of her busy schedule and sharing her experience and thoughts on awareness on Design Thinking Toolkit and its importance to scalable innovation. It was a great experience to all the folks out here to know in depth about this. Thank you, ma'am. I also thank our college principal, Dr. Sabu Josh, for his constant support and guidance. A word of gratitude to our Vice Principal, Father Abraham PJ, for his support. I extend my gratitude to our management and the Student Council for their constant work in organizing this webinar. I also thank the Industry Academia Cell, and finally a big thanks to all the folks attending this program. Before I conclude, I request all of you to click on the feedback link and you give your feedback for the session, and you will be given a certificate on the same day through your mail ID. I once again thank you all. Have a very wonderful day.